welcome to another deck review. Today I'm going to be doing a deck review on green Krennic, or green, blue, black Krennic. This deck actually took first place at a Polish national tournament of almost 100 entrants. I believe there was, I'm not entirely sure, but I think there might have been a cash prize with this tournament. This deck beat everything, right? It ended up beating green Boba. What's funny is in this tournament, a Chewbacca Sentinel deck took second, which is crazy. I think there's only one Sabine green deck in the top 8, a couple Boba decks in the top 8, and an Iden deck. But this deck ended up taking the entire tournament. And I think there's a very good reason for that, because I think Krennic has a certain ability that puts him over the edge. And we're going to go through that and talk through this list. And I think this is a list that a lot of people can pick up. You don't have to play Darth Vader, which is one of the most expensive cards in the game. But this deck is mostly commons and uncommons until you get to the top end. But even some of the bombs are cheap cards. So let's take a look. So this deck is really weird because the sideboard has a myriad of cards, which we'll get to. But this deck has a similar shell to a lot of the green, black, whatever control decks that exist, like Iden. It's very, very similar, but Krennic is able to really utilize some of the synergies here to actually be a little bit more aggressive. And I've actually played against this deck, and I have lost pretty miserably because this deck can kind of come out of nowhere and do a lot of damage. So let's take a look at what this deck is trying to do. So first we got Regional Governor. I've featured this card. Everybody's playing this card. Name a card. When this unit is in play, opponents can't play the named card. You can name early plays. You can name late game bombs. Like if you're playing a Luke Skywalker deck, you can name the Luke Skywalker unit, right? And this card is just super good. You can name cards that you don't want to see, that you know that your opponent's playing because of the meta. It's just a very, very good card. And if you're in a tournament, there might even be a deck list, an open deck list, and you can just take a look at their deck list and be like, hey, I'm going to pick the card I don't want to see. And you name it. And they can't play it until they remove Regional Governor, which often gives you time. And time is of the essence in this deck because you want to get to the end game. Next is Scout Bike Pursuer. It's a 1/4 with grit, so it gets +1/+0 for each damage on it. So it combos with Krennic because Krennic gives damaged units just a flat +1/+0. So if this gets damaged, this then gets an additional 1 on top of its grit. So this can become, I think at its max, a 5/4 as a turn 1 play with no other additional cards played on it. It just gets to be a 5/4 after it gets 3 damage on it. And there's actually other cards in the set or in this deck that can damage it for free for a bonus effect. So this card is quite good and is extra good in Krennic. Next is a Viper Probe Droid. Not much needs to be said. Gives you information, and it's a 3-power unit, so it can often trade with your opponent's turn 1 ground play, which you're going to want to try and slow your opponent down most likely for most matchups. I think you would almost always want to do that because this game is all about the top end. So let's take a lock at the 3 drops. You got Cell Block Guard as a Sentinel. Just, got to slow down aggro. You got a chance to play Sentinel. It's a turn 2 play, not bad at all. Next is Death Trooper. This card, when it's played, deal 2 damage to a friendly ground unit and then 2 damage to a friendly enemy ground unit. So what's really strong about this is you can actually do 2 damage to that bike that I was showing, and that actually makes the bike even stronger. And what's really strong is you can ambush this in on turn 2 or turn 3. So then you can play this, deal 2 damage to your Bike Pursuer. This gets to ambush something, and it gets to do 2 damage to something. So you can remove one of your opponent's 3/3s and one of your opponent's X2s because it does 2 damage to that ground unit. So you can often take out 2 ground units with this card. This deck has no problem in the ground. It's going to eliminate everything and everything. This card is quite good. I think it's getting maximum value. And keep in mind, this card plays into Krennic because damaging your units gives them an extra attack. And what's interesting is Krennic doesn't give them an extra attack when they're attacking. It's a permanent flat buff. And that is really frustrating because it totally throws off the math of the game. And I've played against this deck, and I can say for one that it can be frustrating to forget that, hey, they're damaged. Death Trooper is actually a 4/3, not a 3/3. Resupply and Super Laser Technician, just ramp. Nothing else much needs to be said. This is a late game deck, so it's going to want to ramp. And you can also ambush that Super Laser Technician to get a resource really quick. Consortium Star Viper is a 3/3 for 3. And when you have the initiative, it has Restore 2. It's a decent statted unit in space. A 3/3 for 3 it's okay. And you can ambush it in to kill something and Restore 2 if you have the initiative. And it's just a really good card all around. Lastly, we got Power of the Dark Side. An opponent chooses a unit they control, defeat it, so they have to sacrifice something. It just kills big things, kills early things. You can play it on turn 2. It's really, really good to play late game when your opponent's board is all cleared up and they only have a bomb left, and you can just make them remove it. It's really strong. Moving on to 4-drops here. Just one card here. Takedown. I hate this card because it just shuts down every other deck but control. Defeat a unit with power 5 or less, or HP 5 or less, so it can even kill bigger things that have damage on it. It slows down aggro. It kills on something on turn 3, pretty much everything in the game. And it can actually kill units like Sabine on turn 3, no questions asked, which is super frustrating because Sabine is the fastest unit, but there is an event in the game that actually kills her the moment she comes out. So I'm a Sabine player, so I hate this card, but I have to feature this deck because it's just such a good deck and it took first place. Next, going to 5-drops here. That was only 4-drop. We got Vanquish, just defeats big things, man. Sometimes you got to kill that 5/5, 6/6, 7/7, 9/9 in space. Just defeats it instantly. It's very good against the mirror match in late game matchups. Now, Gideon Hask is insane. He's a 5/5, and when an enemy unit is defeated, which you're going to be doing a lot in this deck, give an experience token to a friendly unit. What's interesting is you can give Gideon that experience token. So there's many games where he just gets huge, and he's like an 8/8, and you just lose the game because they have an 8/8, and it's hard to beat that. A 9/8 if he's damaged because of Krennic. And then we got Overwhelming Barrage. It's a pump spell for 5 that allows you to clear stuff. It's just really good. Sometimes you can give like Krennic +2/+2, kill a bunch of small stuff, and then attack with Krennic into something and kill that. So you can kill 3 units usually with this card. It's just such a good card. This card's broken. And that's why the deck's in green is you got Ambush and you got this card. I'd say that those are the 2 main reasons you go into green. You get Energy Conversion Lab as your base, which gives you that ambush effect, and then you get Overwhelming Barrage as just one of the best removal cards in the game. Next is Steadfast Battalion. This is really good because it can kill Boba right when he comes out. So if you deploy Krennic and then you ambush this in, it's a 5/5 with Overwhelm, but on attack, if you control a leader unit, it gets +2/+2. You can give any unit +2/+2. You can give it to him. And so you can ambush him in and do 7 damage to Boba and eliminate him immediately, and this unit actually lives after it hits Boba, which is very strong. And I think that's why they play it, honestly, is just it immediately beats Boba. And having a 5/5 that turns into a 7/7 with Trample or Overwhelm is just insane. It kills anything in the game. It's going to put a massive clock on your opponent. It's a very strong card. 6-drops, there's only one 6-drop. Cargo Juggernaut, a 4/6 shielded. When played, if you control another shielded unit, heal 4 damage from your base. There's a lot of weird cards in this deck, and I think these are cards that people have overlooked. And this card just gains 4 life when it's played, which is really good. There's not many cards that heal anything when they come into play. They have to attack with Restore. And so this just has built-in life gain along with Krennic. It just helps you beat aggro, can help with the mirrors, so you just have extra life to play around with. And you can end up being the Mirror Breaker card. And it's shielded, so it's not going to go away easily. It's going to take a while unless you have like a Vanquish, to remove this with. Darth Vader. Oh man, most expensive card in the game. I think it's $100 right now for just the regular copy that's on my screen. Best top end card in the game. Play 2 cards in 1, right? You get to play it, then search for something, and you're most likely going to find something. It's very, very good. I've actually seen people whiff with the card, but that's like less than 5%. It's just a good card, and it's got ambush, so it's going to kill something. Darth Vader is so good, and it's Darth Vader. Come on, he's scary and really cool. He's got that red lightsaber. All right, Reinforcement Walker. 6/9, when played, look at the top card of your deck. You may either draw it or discard it and heal 3 damage from your base. It just lets you heal stuff, right? Heal 3. Notice that the Cargo Juggernaut also heals 4. This has lots of effects that heal when they play, not when they attack, necessarily. This one also triggers on attack, and it's a finisher. Next is Super Laser Blast. I think there's only 1 copy in the main deck, and it's just a clincher board wipe. If you're having a hard time, just reset the game. Reset the board state. So defeat all units just helps you do that in a clincher. And then 9 to 10 drops here. There's 2 of those. We have Avenger here. When played and on attack, an opponent chooses a non-leader unit they control, defeat that unit. This is just a finisher, right? It's a late game finisher. It helps remove some more units. and it's probably going to help you beat some of the other control decks. It's going to be a race to who gets to their Avenger first. It just immediately removes something, but they do get to choose what they remove. And then lastly, we got Devastator here that has Sentinel and Overwhelm, and when it's played, you may deal damage to a unit equal to the number of resources you control, which is probably 10. So this is probably going to kill anything in the game. And it's a 10-10. So like probably the next turn, you're going to win the game with this thing because it's going to do 10 damage of trample. It's a very strong card. Next is the base Energy Conversion Lab, best base in the game, even more removal options, helps you slow the game down. Choose what to ambush for maximum value. Do you ambush your Steadfast Battalion to turn into a 7/7 and kill Bubba? Or do you ambush in a 3/3 space unit to restore 2 and kill their A-Wing, right? You can just choose what you want to do, and that's really good. Like, it allows you to play flexibly, and you get to choose what you want to ambush and remove depending on the matchup, which is what you want in this game. You want to have flexibility in your deck because that means that you can shift how you play against certain decks so you have a higher win rate. And this card allows you to do that. And then Krennic here. Oh man, Krennic. That +1 damage on damaged units. It's so strong, guys. I don't know why, but it throws all the math off in the game. And you go from being able to kill something and keep your guy alive to having to attack into a damaged unit and trade it, which just feels horrible. It often means that you can never trade up into a unit. And then Krennic also, helps with the clock, right? All of his damage stuff early, you're just going to put a lot of early pressure and get a lot of bonus damage with like the Bike Pursuer. I mean, I've lost games against this deck and I'm the aggro deck, and this deck is just doing more damage than me because of the combo potential that a very good hand can have. And that means that like mirror matches like Iden or Boba, they may not anticipate that or see that, and they might just be down on life faster than they realize. Restore 2 is really relevant against aggro decks, so this Krennic has Restore 2 on his unit side, so he's just a very strong card. 2/7, really hard to kill, and he comes out early, turn 4. Sideboard, little weird, it's all over the place, one copy of like everything, and I think the reason for this is the person who made this deck, they want to sideboard for every matchup. So that means that, that this deck is very high skill level. For example, they're probably going to pull in the Avenger, the Devastator, the Takedown, and the Vanquish against like Iden decks or mirror matches where they're going to go late and they want to play more bombs and be able to just beat their opponent. They're going to pull in the Regional Governors, the Snow Trooper Lieutenant, the Cell Block Guard, the System Patrol Craft, and the Takedown against Sabine to have more early game and more removal, more Sentinel to slow the game down. And they're just, it's just a lot of one-ofs in here, but allows the pilot of this deck to sideboard what they want for an optimum matchup. And I think that's actually really genius. And to be honest, if you start to see my sideboards, they started going from 3 copies of a card, 3 copies of a card, 3 copies of a card, and then like 1 straggler, so 10, to 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, or 3, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1. It's like, at the end of the day, you do need sideboarding in this game is like so important because right now certain decks have counters and then your sideboard can have a counter to the counter. And so you want to be able to think through that and understand the meta. And I think that's where a lot of creativity still exists. And in deck building, because this deck, is around, but to take first place is really cool. And it's not a deck that people think is like one of the best. And now that I've played it, I'm like, dang, this deck's really good and it might be one of the best decks. So very surprised at how much of the meta is evolving. So if you have any questions, definitely hit the comments. The deck list is in the description for this deck if you want to copy it for your local game store. And I just want to say huge thank you. I hit 1,000 subscribers last night, actually this morning at 1 a.m. I was like up scrolling and, I started doing this 30 days ago and now I'm at 1,000 subs and it just feels really good. Love all the support everyone gives. Like some of the comments, you guys, like those are amazing compliments. Thank you so much. I'm actually going to my local game store to play tonight. So hopefully I take first and get my, I'm getting a weekly promo pack. Just exciting. So definitely hit that subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, I have thousands of views on my videos, but I only have 1,000 subs. So I'm going to continue to create concise, clear, and top tier strategy for Star Wars Unlimited. I'm going to continue to get if spoilers come out, I'm going to be posting the same day. And, hopefully I can get a spoiler card from Fantasy Flight Games. Shout out to you, Xander. Hit me up. Give me a spoiler, please. Very excited for set 2. So I want to be the hub for strategy and news of the game. And definitely want to start going to bigger tournaments, obviously, when set 2 comes out. And I will be, staying on top of the meta when that comes out. So definitely subscribe. You're going to be able to learn from all my time and knowledge of learning this stuff in kind of a shortcut for you, so you don't have to do all the same digging in learning. So I love doing it, and I love sharing it. So hopefully it's effective and beneficial and providing value to you all. So thank you so much, and have a great night. Thanks. Bye.